Hello viewers, welcome to my YouTube channel Learning and Sharing. Today I'm going to discuss with you the states, their shapes and boundaries. If you remember previously I had discussed with you the nation states and their characteristics. So in that video we had discussed what sort of characteristic a nation states contains and what sort of problems the nation states had in the world today. In this particular video, we are going to discuss the shapes and boundaries of the states. So not only we will discuss what does mean by states, how many states are in the world and where they are being existing, but at the same time, what sort of shapes and the boundaries they have, because there are the different different states in the world and they have a different, sometimes they have a different shapes and the boundaries. We will also see what sort of factors which influence those sort of shapes of the boundaries, कि कौन कौन से फैक्टर्स हैं जो असरअंदाज होते हैं इन शेप्स और बाउंड्रीज में। तो आज हम इस वीडियो में स्टेट्स के बारे में बढ़ेंगे, देखेंगे कि कितने स्टेट्स हैं दुनिया में और वो कहाँ कहाँ पे मौजूद हैं। पार्टिकुलरली हम फोकस करेंगे कि शेप और बाउंड्रीज क्या क्या है स्टेट्स की, क्योंकि you might be seeing that sometime the geography and physiography and climate also have a influence on the shapes and boundaries of the states. So आज हम इसके बारे में डिस्कस करेंगे. You don't have to go anywhere. This is a very informative video. You will get a better understanding about the states, shapes and boundaries of the states. So let's start the video. Now, what does mean by the state? A state is also a nation or the country is an area with a defined boundary, organized in a political unit and ruled by established government that has control over its internal and foreign affairs. What does it mean by nation? Sometimes being parallelly, the state being parallelly used as a nation in the country. Now that territory is a political territory which is being ruled by the established government. यानी कि ऐसी टेरिटरी जिसको रूल एक एस्टेब्लिश गवर्नमेंट करे और उसके ऊपर not only the internal but the foreign affairs, they have a control on that. So we call that the state. When a state has a total control over the internal and the foreign affair, it is called the sovereign state. जब कोई भी स्टेट हो जिसको अपने अंदरूनी और बैरूनी अफेयर्स पे मुकम्मल कंट्रोल हो तो उसको हम sovereign states कहते हैं. A location claimed by a sovereign state is called a territory. So whatever the sovereign state we have, if that state has a physical existence, we call that the territory, or the land area we call that the territory. हम उसको territory कहते हैं. Currently, there are 195 countries in the world. About 193 countries are member states of the United Nations, and 2 countries are non-member observer states, the Holy See and the State of Palestine. So basically, there are 195 countries in the world, or the state in the world. 2 of them are the non-members of the United Nations, and they are the Holy See and the State of Palestine. Now, from where we got the idea of the states? So the idea or the concept of a state originate in the Fertile Crescent between the Persian Gulf and Mediterranean Sea. तो ये जो concept है state का, ये हमें मिला पर्शियन गल्फ और मेडिटेरियन सी के दरमियान जो एक फर्टाइल क्रिसेंट है, चांद की शक्ल का एक जगह है जिसको. So the first ancient state that formed during the time was called a city state. So सबसे पहले उस टाइम में जो पुराने दौर में जो कायम हुई उसको हम city states कहते हैं. It is generally accepted that the first city in the world rose in summer, and among the most important were the Eridu, Uruk, Larsa, Nippur, and Kish. The city of Uruk is held to be the first true city in the world. तो अगर हम पीछे चले जाएं, if you look at the past, we will see जो पहली दुनिया में जिसको state माना गया, जो city state माना गया, उसको कहा जाता है Uruk state, and that was in the Mesopotamian region. वहां पे जाएगा. जो you can see in the map here that these cities, nation cities, they are being present here in the. So this is Uruk, Urma, and these are the different nation cities in the world. So Uruk was the first recognized city state in the world. A city state, a sovereign state that encompassed a town and surrounding landscape. Often city states secured the town by surrounding, and it with the walls and farmlands were located outside the city wall. Later, empires formed when the several city states were military controlled by a single state. I'm not going to give you a detail about the city state because the video will be so longer. So we will focus the shapes of the states. Now, there are different types of the shape of the state. So we'll discuss one by one. The shape of a state is important because it helps determine the potential communication, internally, military protection, access to resources, and more. The particular state, shape of the state, यानी कि जो उस state की जो शक्ल होती है, उसका बड़ा असर होता है not only on your defense but on your access to the resources and the same time in the communication. क्योंकि ये यानी कि उस स्टेट की टेरिटरी कितनी है, उसका शेप कैसा है, it determine not only your defensive but your research type of policy. So number one is the compact state. जो पहली स्टेट है उसको हम कॉम्पैक्ट स्टेट कहते हैं. नाउ व्हाट डज मीन बाय कॉम्पैक्ट स्टेट? कॉम्पैक्ट स्टेट्स हैव रिलेटिवली इक्वल डिस्टेंस फ्रॉम देयर सेंटर to any boundary, much like a circle. Now, compact state, what does mean by compact state? If you measure those states, you will find they are almost equal from all sides. यानी कि अगर आप उनको देखेंगे सेंटर से आउट ऑफ बाउंड्रीज तक देखेंगे, वो आपको ऑलमोस्ट उनका जो विड्थ और लेंथ है वो एक जैसी लगेगी, यानी एक जैसी लगी. सो इट इज लुक लाइक अ सर्कल. दे आर ऑफन रिगार्डेड एज एफिशिएंट स्टेट. उनको हम एफिशिएंट स्टेट कहते हैं. एन एग्जांपल ऑफ कॉम्पैक्ट स्टेट वुड बी कीनिया, रवांडा, युगांडा एंड ब्रुनाई. तो ये जो स्टेट है यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हो, यू कैन सी इन द मैप. अगर आप इनकी टेरिटरी और इसको बाउंड्रीज को देखेंगे, ऑलमोस्ट ये जो है वो अगर सेंटर से आप कहीं भी चले जाएं, if you are going to north, south, east or west, you will find almost same length from all sides. तो हर जगह पे एक ही लेंथ है. So they are being a very efficient state. अगर आप कीनिया को देखें, तंजानिया को देखें, या युगांडा, रवांडा, बुरुंडी को देखेंगे, तो ये इस तरह नहीं है कि एक साइड से वो बहुत निकली हुई हैं या वो बहुत लंबी हैं या समथिंग लाइक. सो यहाँ पे क्या है कि इनका एक मॉडरेट टाइप ऑफ यानी शेप है. सो इट्स ऑलवेज बीन अ बेटर फॉर country which have a compact state. तो हम उनको compact state कहते हैं. तो आप यहाँ पे इमेज में देख सकते हैं. Now, number second, we have elongated state. Now, what does it mean by elongated states? Have a long and narrow shape. These states face many problems, particularly internal communication, which causes isolation of towns from capital city. Malawi is an example of elongated state. Now, elongated states क्या होती हैं? They are very long and narrow in the shapes. It's like a finger. You can say line shape. तो आप इनको देख सकते हैं कि you don't find any width here. So there's a high length here. So from here to here, from north to south, this is a Malawi. So this is called elongated scale. कि ये कितनी लंबी है. इस शक्ल को हम elongated scales कहते हैं, states कहते हैं. अच्छा, ऐसी जो states होती हैं उनके लिए कभी कभार problems हो जाती हैं communication के लिए. Because if you are being going from one part to the another parts, it's so lengthy, it is a big distance. और बीच में कोई distance नहीं. अगर यहाँ से आप यहाँ जाएंगे इतना बड़ा distance नहीं, मगर यहाँ से यहाँ जाएंगे तो communicate करने में problem हो जाती है या traveling में बड़ा time लगता है. So there's also another city which is called the state of Chile. This is Chile. So इसका shape भी है. So this is called the elongated state. Prorupted state. Prorupted states occur when a compact state has a portion of its boundary extending outward, extendingly more than the other portion of the boundary. Some of these type of states exist, so the citizens can have access to specific resources such as large body of water. State that is a panhandle and peninsular region that just cut out away from the rest of the state like a finger arm. तो ये जो प्रोटेक्टेड स्टेट्स होती है ये इस तरह होती हैं कि आपको इस तरह लगेगा कि एक मेन हिस्सा एक जगह पे है मगर कुछ इसका उसका निकला हुआ है और ऐसे लगता है कि इट इज लाइक आउटसाइड दैट बाउंड्रीज, यानी कि उसकी बाउंड्रीज किसी और कंट्रीज का भी लगती हैं. सो इट इज लाइक अ पेन हैंडल शेप और पेनिनसुलर रीजन. मीन्स आप यहाँ पे देखें कि एक ही जगह है, यानी कि तीन तीन तरफ से कोई और बाउंड्री है, कोई और स्टेट है या और कोई जो, मगर यहाँ पे सिर्फ एक ही है. सो थाईलैंड, दिस इज द एग्जांपल ऑफ थाईलैंड. यहाँ पे आप थाईलैंड को देख सकते हैं कि ये ऐसा उसका निकला हुआ है, इट इज लाइक अ फिंगर, कि वो बहुत ही लंबा है और बाहर निकला हुआ है. सो इट्स नॉट अ कॉम्पैक्ट टाइप ऑफ शेप, मगर उसका एक ऐसे लगता है कि एक हिस्सा उसका उस यानी कि उस मेन टेरिटरी से बाहर है मगर वो एक्चुअली उसका हिस्सा होता है, तो उसको हम प्रोटेक्टेड स्टेट कहते हैं. Then we have a perforated state. Now, a perforated state that completely surrounds another state. Two classic examples are Italy, which are completely surround San Marino and the Vatican City, and the South Africa, which completely surrounds Lesotho. So, what does it mean by perforated state? Perforated state has been that state which has been completely covered or been surrounded by another state. यानी कि वो जो कंट्री है, वो जो स्टेट है, उसके चारों तरफ से जो बॉर्डर्स हैं वो किसी और कंट्री के लगते हैं. यानी कि एक और कंट्री है जो उसको ऑक्यूपाई तो नहीं कह सकते मगर वो उसके ऊपर कवर करती है. तो यहाँ पे यू कैन सी लिसोतो विच इज इन साउथ अमेरिका. अब ये साउथ अफ्रीका, ये साउथ अफ्रीका पूरा एक स्टेट है, मगर आप बीच में देखेंगे कंट्री है, बीच में देखेंगे लिसोतो, एक स्मॉलर स्टेट है विच इज बीन कवर्ड बाय द साउथ अफ्रीका. तो दिस पर्टिकुलर शेप इज कॉल्ड परफोरेटेड स्टेट. यहाँ पे भी आप देख सकते हैं इटली में जो वेटिकन सिटी है, वेटिकन सिटी इट इज इन द मिडल ऑफ रूम, मिडल ऑफ इटली, तो इटली के बीच में है, तो इसको हम परफोरेटेड स्टेट्स कहते हैं. देन वी हैव अ फ्रेगमेंटेड स्टेट्स. एज अ वर्ड फ्रेगमेंटेड यूजुअली मीनिंग इन पीसेस. A fragmented state is one that is simply divided or separated by the barrier. A fragmented state has several non-contiguous pieces of territory. Archipelagos such as Philippines, Indonesia, and Fiji are the example of fragmented. So now fragmented, as you understand, an English word which means into the pieces. So similarly, the states which are not compacted or combined, they are into the pieces, they are called the fragmented states. यानी कि उनके इतने हिस्से होते हैं, इतने इतने टुकड़े होते हैं कि वो एक कॉम्पैक्ट शेप नहीं होता. आप किसी भी कंट्री देखें उनकी कॉम्पैक्ट स्टेट होते हैं, उनकी एक बाउंड्रीज होती हैं कि ये दैट स्टेट इज इनसाइड दोज बाउंड्रीज. मगर यहाँ पे इफ यू लुक एट द इंडोनेशिया, तो यहाँ पे देखिए द इंडोनेशिया इनटू द पीसेस. यहाँ पे दे आर द डिफरेंट what do you say, cities or the political units of the Indonesia, but it's not been compacted, so they are being fragmented or into the pieces. तो उसको हम fragmented states कहते हैं. Landlocked stated, we had already discussed that in a separate video. तो landlocked states हम उसको कहते हैं which are being covered by the other states. So major body of water such as sea or the oceans means landlocked states doesn't have access to the water. यानी कि उनका कोई भी हिस्सा पानी के साथ नहीं लग सकता, समंदर हो या. तो यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हैं माली, नाइजर एंड चाद, सो दे आर ज़ाम्बिया, बोस्टवाना, दे आर द landlocked state, means they are being locked, are being covered by the land area from all sides. So हर जगह से वो land area, कोई भी पानी की जगह नहीं है, तो we call that. So Austria, Andria, so Luxembourg, they are the landlocked states of the world. Now we'll discuss the types of state boundaries. So there are different types of state boundaries. And now these state boundaries have been changed with the time, but there are different factors which are being influencing those boundaries. Now the physical features, cultural features, like physical features, we have a rivers, mountain, deserts, glacier. Cultural features as a religion, culture, ethnicity. So these boundaries either on the base of culture or physical features, they are being separated from other the states. So boundaries are actually a dynamic feature that vary with the space in the time. Throughout most human history, boundaries were determined by the frontiers, where no political entity controlled the area. So these were often large, uninhabitable, rigorous, such as deserts, ocean, and glacier. But technological and communication advancements have allowed nations to protect their region without the need of the frontier. तो पुराने दौर में frontiers हुआ करते थे और frontiers की जो हिफाजत हुआ करती थी या those frontiers were being made on the basis of कल्चरल एंड फिजिकल फीचर्स. तो जैसे ग्लेशियर्स हों, डेजर्ट्स हों, वो तो कुदरती तौर पर बन जाते थे. मगर आहिस्ता आहिस्ता जब टेक्नोलॉजी आई, जब मिलिट्री पावरमेंट आई, तो ये जो फ्रंटियर्स हैं वो टूट गए और वो बाउंड्रीज बन गए. सो विल सी व्हाट टाइप ऑफ बाउंड्रीज वी हैव. Number one is a desert boundary. So desert boundaries can be quite large barriers for the state that serve for the protection. So जो desert है, it can be a natural boundary. Deserts are common along 30-degree north and the south of the equator, where permanent high pressure creates sunny, dry condition all around the year. So यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हैं कि जो deserts है, it can be a boundary, a natural boundary. दुनिया में mostly जो deserts पाए जाते हैं वो 30 degree पे from the equator. So 30 degree either in the north or in the south, either Capricorn or the Cancer, Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. तो यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हैं ये 30 डिग्री पे सबसे ज्यादा डेजर्ट पाए. सो वी हैव सहारा डेजर्ट, अटकमा डेजर्ट्स, Karakoram Luthor deserts, Gobi, Taklamakan deserts. In the southern part, we have a Great Sandy Simpson deserts. We have Naib deserts. So mostly deserts are being found in the 30 degrees north and the south. तो एक मिसाल दे सकता हूँ. If you look at the Pakistan and India, in the Pakistan and India, in the eastern side of Pakistan and western side of India, there's a desert. So desert can be a boundary. So this can be a natural boundary between Pakistan and India. So it is at the present, you can say desert, third desert, and other desert which is in the Indian parts. It can be a boundary, natural boundary between Pakistan and the India. Now mountainous boundaries, यहाँ पे भी आप देख सकते हैं, mountainous boundaries can also provide a protection over large areas if they are difficult to climb through, but they can also isolate society from each other by means of transportation, trade and export and the culture. Now these mountainous, because as you know, the mountains are so big, because sometimes it's so difficult to pass through them, to climb them, तो हमारे लिए आना जाना बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है. तो the mountains can be a natural boundary between different states, क्योंकि transport, trade or export or even the cultural exchange में भी problem हो सकती है. So like deserts, boundaries, they can have also make geopolitical difficult when they determine the boundary of states, since it is a no distinct boundary other line. यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हो कि जो इंडिया पाकिस्तान ऊपर we have a channel. So this area, it is based on the Himalayas mountains. So this mountainous regions and based on different peaks of the mountain. Magar at the same time it become the boundary between China, India and Pakistan, क्योंकि ये बहुत बड़ा है, इसकी height बहुत बड़ी है, तो ये एक किस्म की ये boundary बन सकते हैं. So we call them the mountainous boundaries. Now water boundaries such as river, lakes and ocean create such state boundaries. So large water boundaries can be highly protective. The enemy armies would need to use boats and limited resources to attack a state from its water boundary. But sometimes water boundaries can be a problematic with the changing climate. So here the water reservoirs such as ocean, rivers, even the seas, it can be a boundary, because if it is between two states, it is become so difficult to travel, or to even sometimes if in terms of defense, very hard or difficult to attack another state or another territory. So we call it the water boundaries. Now cultural boundaries, it's very important to understand here. So cultural boundaries are used to separate people with differences in both of their cultural texts. The cultural boundaries sometimes being used when people have a different cultures. Some people, even they are being living so close to each other, but they profess and promote or practice the different cultures. So that line creates, that difference creates a cultural boundaries. So oftentimes cultural and ethnic conflict occur between people with different language and religion. So religious difference often coincide with the boundaries between state, but not only a few cases the religion being used to select the actual boundary line. Sometimes religion also being used as a boundary between two, culture, or between two nations. So the most notable example in South Asia, it is the India and Pakistan, when India and Pakistan was separated on the basis of religion. So where the Muslims were be living, they were elected the territory of and they allowed to have a separate state for them on the basis of religion. In India, where the majority of Hindus were living, they were adopted to that territory. So even the language is an important cultural characteristic for the drawing boundaries, especially in Europe. अब यहाँ यूरोप में जो लैंग्वेज है वो एक कल्चरल बाउंड्री बन जाती है. By global standard, European languages have substantial literacy tradition and formal rules of grammar and spelling. Language has been a significant means of distinguishing distinct nationalities in Europe. It's not only in Europe here, that's been said here. यूरोप में सबसे जो एक डिस्टिंग्विशिंग जो फैक्टर है वो कल्चरल फैक्टर है वो उनकी लैंग्वेज है. तो when people are being speaking different languages, they create or they make the cultural boundaries. तो यूरोप में जो सबसे बड़ा इन्फ्लुएंस है वो लैंग्वेज का है. इवन बहुत सारी ऐसे स्टेट्स हैं या ऐसी जगह हैं जहाँ पे जो लैंग्वेज है, it become a very powerful tool to separate the two states. Recently, the state of Sudan separated into Sudan and South Sudan along a language boundary. जो सूडान और साउथ सूडान की जो सेपरेशन हुई थी वो लैंग्वेज बेसिस पे हुई थी. सो it was about the cultural boundaries of the state. So it was all about the boundaries and the different shapes and the borders of the states. If you like my videos, please subscribe and share my channel with your friends, so you will have a quick notification of my new videos. So till then, take care of yourself. See you very soon.